Hi there everyone, and welcome along to the fourth study in our series in the book of Ruth. This study is called Faithful Boldness. So far in the story of Ruth we have seen it centre around this character Naomi. Naomi who left Bethlehem full, but tragedy upon tragedy strikes her family and she returns empty. All she returns with is a widowed daughter-in-law from Moab, Ruth. She feels the bitterness of her situation and even tells people to start calling her Mara, which means bitter. But into this hopeless situation, God has breathed life. He has breathed hope in this young, widowed Moabite daughter-in-law, Ruth. He has birthed faith in her, and we have seen that faith in action as she has committed to Naomi and she has done everything she can to care for her mother-in-law. We've also met a man called Boaz, and we met him in the last study, and he presented himself not just as a worthy man, but a man who in this time of the judges, when everyone is doing what's right in their own eyes, he will do what is right in Yahweh's eyes. He is a man of faith in Yahweh, and he has seen Ruth's faith expressed in the way that she cared for Naomi. So he showers blessing upon this young Moabite widow. He takes care of her and gives her generously from his fields. Well, this week we'll see that Naomi, seeing the faith of Boaz, seeing the faith of Ruth, suddenly her faith might be being kindled that little bit as well. She hatches a plan that would enable Ruth to be redeemed by Boaz. Now, in order to understand what's going on here, we have to understand that God desperately cares for those who are broken, and particularly those who are widowed. We saw this last time in the study, but this one provision that God puts in his law comes in Deuteronomy chapter 25, verses 5 and 6. If brothers dwell together and one of them dies and has no son, the wife of the dead man shall not be married outside the family to a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in to her and take her as his wife, and perform the duty of a husband's brother to her. The first son whom she bears shall succeed to the name of his dead brother, that his name may not be blotted out of Israel. This kind of seems a bit weird, that if a man dies, leaving a childless widow behind, that the man's brother or close relative would take her as his wife. But the whole purpose of this is to display God's heart for people who find themselves on the outer, who find themselves in the situation of being a childless widow. We saw last study the plight of the childless widow, and here God provides a way that this woman might be redeemed, that the family name might be redeemed, that this family might be able to keep their land, that this family might be able to keep their place in the promised land, that this family might be able to keep their name in the history of Israel. It is a stunning and wonderful and gracious provision in the law for widows like Naomi and widows like Ruth. And so this is Naomi's plan, that Boaz, as this near relative, as this kinsman, would be able to perform the duties of a redeemer, that he might be able to marry Ruth and give her a home, give her a name, and give her hope in the land of God's people. But Naomi's plan is not without risk. It requires Ruth to go out into a field all by herself in the darkness of night, where she was alone and vulnerable. But this was how her family could be redeemed. And so we will see in this study in chapter 3 that Ruth takes this risk, that she embraces this faith step, and that she goes out and boldly approaches Boaz. And in this approach, we will see the beauty of Ruth's faith, her desire for following God's law and finding her place in amongst God's people in God's land. And we will see how Boaz responds faithfully as well. In all of this, we see wonderful and beautiful statements of the faith that Ruth has. Things like verse 10 of chapter 3, where Boaz says, "May you be blessed by the Lord, my daughter. You have made this last kindness greater than the first, and that you have not gone after young men, whether rich or poor." And he continues in verse 11, "And now, my daughter, do not fear, for I will do for you all that you ask. For all my fellow townsmen know that you are a worthy woman." It seems that Ruth has come back to Bethlehem as an outsider, as a person who is weak, a person who is vulnerable, a person who seems to have no place in the nation, and yet her faith in Yahweh has shone through. Boaz has seen it, Naomi has seen it, and now even all of the townsmen have seen it. People have seen that something is alive in Ruth. Faith in Yahweh makes a difference in Ruth's life, and it births hope into this whole situation. So while this situation might be completely foreign to our understanding, I hope in this study we will see how faith is expressed boldly through risk-taking and through the wonderful way in which God has revealed himself through this young Moabite widow. Enjoy the study.